Welcome to another exciting edition of ChinnyVision. This time we're racing with WEC Le Mans. I say WEC Le Mans, perhaps it's WEC Le Mans, I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's WEC Le Mans, and that's certainly what I've always called it. Of course, any of you of a certain age will remember the arcade machine. A huge thing, Konami game in the arcades, and it moved around and really threw you around. And actually, apparently I was just reading up on this. In today's money, the deluxe cabinet would have cost about £18,000. So it was a seriously expensive bit of arcade kit. Ocean got the license for the home conversions and put it under their Imagine label. Only curiously on the 8-bits, no 16-bit versions, just the 8-bits. And we're going to start off on the first version I played, and I'm going to load this up on a 464 Plus. Ironically, which has burning rubber built into the cartridge. I'm going to load this off the original tape I bought in W8 Smiths on budget. And it has a nice loading screen. It's got a custom Ocean loader that loads in the screen, quite unlike other Amstrad CPC games where it loads in different lines at a time. This loads in almost like a BBC Micro game, line by line as it draws the pictures. And it's a wonderfully detailed graphic here. Really nice. I bought this game after I'd got my GX4000, and of course I've reviewed Burning Rubber on this channel before, and Burning Rubber is essentially WEC Le Mans 2. It's quite unofficial. WEC Le Mans is the aim of the game is you're racing 4 laps around the Le Mans circuit. It's supposed to be a 24-hour race. In the arcade you go from daylight to night and back to day again. Obviously on the standard 8-bits you can't do that. But actually on the GX4000 / Amstrad CPC Plus version, of course with 4096 colours, it does all of that. So I'll put a link into the Burning Rubber review in the description below, but bear in mind that is a completely unofficial game. And you'll notice actually the coders of that game were actually the same as the coders of this game, as here on the menu screen. So it's copyright 1988 Imagine. And it says 1987 Konami. I thought that was 1986. Perhaps it hit the Europe in 87. The arcade game was a dual 68,000 processor setup as well, which also says why it costs so much. So here we go. Going to start the race. And of course, if you know Burning Rubber, you're looking at this going, yes, this is a 4-colour version of Burning Rubber. And it kind of is, although Burning Rubber's far more advanced than this. So off we go. In the Amstrad 4-colour mode, but they've got more colours than the 4 colours here because they're using some split mode techniques at the top there, or raster techniques rather, to get the extra yellow up the top there. Looks slightly odd, the colours, a little bit ugly. It's strange to see the greens on the car. I can see why they've done. They wanted the extra resolution the Amstrad's medium resolution screen mode gives, and it moves along wonderfully smoothly and fast. It's one of those Ocean games that, and they were so good at the racing games. Chase HQ came from the same coders the following year, and yeah, it moves around really well. Sound effects are the usual kind of things you'd expect. Engine noises and beeping when it tells you you're skidding when you're going around a corner. Only 2 gears. It's manual only, but there are only the 2 gears to worry about. And there's 3 checkpoints on each circuit as you go around each time you go around the circuit. And you've got to go around the circuits in totals 4 times. And as you can see there, we just went past a car that was smoking by the side of the road. The computer cars can crash into each other. You've got to watch out for that. The track is a little bit narrow. You've got to watch out for it. It can get quite congested at times. And the computer cars do have a tendency to crash into each other as well. Just go around the corner, then every time you just got to watch out. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. You just got to watch out for those computer cars. If they're close together, the chances are they are going to hit each other, and you're going to have to watch out because they will suddenly decelerate. When you crash, there's animations either spinning around or get thrown up in the air. And the thing is, you see, I spun around there. The thing is, unlike Burning Rubber, which came later, where you could nudge the cars and you didn't necessarily crash, in this, if you as much as glance another car, even if you're going at the same speed, and oh, there you go, game over. Didn't quite make the full circuit. As much as nudge the other cars, you go spinning round. And that's how far we got there. Nearly on to lap 2. Over to the Spectrum. And different loading screen. That's a hint of things to come. This is not the same as the Amstrad version. And the clue is you're going to see it on the scroller in a minute. Coding by Sentient Software. And the Amstrad version was done purely in-house by Ocean. This Spectrum version was outsourced. And you'll notice that the music loops around. Actually, you probably won't notice, but there's a bug in the menu screen where the music loops around sooner than it should. Unless you hit redefine keys when you get the full track. So off we go, and as you can see, yeah, it's completely different to the Amstrad version. A bit faster, and arguably the graphics are slightly closer to the arcade, certainly in terms of the car shape. Some of the graphics on the side of the road look very similar to the Amstrad version, but the car certainly doesn't. It's very fast and smooth. The clock does stop when you crash, although you still lose time. It's not like one of these games where the clock continues to tick. It's a really nice, speedy racer here on the Specky. One that's a little bit underrated. People tend to mention things like Chase HQ, and yeah, this came before it, but it's really speedy and nice. Perhaps it's just a little bit too finicky. You've got to and again, the Amstrad version of the same kind of thing. The track could just be that little bit wider. Sometimes it's just too finicky, and that combined with the fact if you as much as glance a car or another car, you come crashing off, makes it a little bit frustrating at times. On the corner we go. There's a little thing at the bottom right hand corner of the screen that shows you where you're steering at any one time. We're going to move over to the MSX, which doesn't have a loading screen, and you'll see why we've done this. And you'll see again, it's the same menu screen. The MSX version is ostensibly exactly the same as the Spectrum version, hence why I'm not dwelling too much on the Specky version. Even got the same bug on the menu screen with the music looping around too soon. There you go, you heard it there. It restarts. It's a really long tune by John Dunn. A really nice tune. This bug means it loops after about 30 seconds when the actual track's about 3.5 minutes long, and you only ever get to hear it if you hit the redefine keys screen. I'm surprised that nobody picked up on that, but then again, it was an out of house bit of coding again. And yeah, here we go, same as the Specky version. So interesting to see how well this moves, as we saw some other MSX racing games that were like Continental Circus that were the same as the Specky version but half the speed. And actually this doesn't move too badly. I've counted it. It's only a few frames a second shorter than the Specky version. Yeah, it's not as fast and smooth as the Specky, but it's nearly there. Unusual for an MSX game. They've actually done a decent job on the porting, although it is the Spectrum version. It's you can't tell them apart really, apart from the slightly different, because the MSX has this weird screen resolution where it stretches things out in the PAL region anyway. It just looks a little bit wide and fat. And there we go, run the Specky version side by side. And yeah, it's not a huge amount of difference really, is there? Remember Continental Circus and the MSX version running at half the speed? Well, this is very respectable on the MSX. I certainly wouldn't have expected it to have been running this well. Everything that applies to the Specky version applies to this version. It's fun. But, you know, again, glancing cars, you just come crashing off. It's even got the colour clash from the Specky version as well. It's nice to see. I know the MSX could probably do a bit better than this, but it's actually nice to see someone at least trying on the MSX to have a racing game that runs at a decent speed as opposed to just porting the Spectrum code and it running at half the speed. As far as MSX races go, yeah, this is one of the better ones. Speaking of systems that don't fare too well when it comes to racing games, over to the C64. Again, the same tune as the CPC Spectrum and MSX version, although obviously a SID rendition. Nice joke on the menu screen here, Le Code, Le Graphs and Le Music. Obviously it's WEC Le Mans. Prepare to start the race. So how's the C64 going to stand up? Oh, that's a nice zooming in view there. Oh, so, okay. The road appears to be... What's all that sparkling going on? My car appears to be on ice. It moves left to right at the same speed regardless of what road speed you're going, and it's like it's on ice. Oh, that was... Just passing there was a bit ropey. To give an impression of speed, they've made the road flash. There's no trackside warnings about when the corner's coming up. And... Oh, yeah. Alright. Yeah. Oh, again, a corner suddenly comes up and you go flying off the side. You can't seem to crash very easily unless you hit a roadside object. And the perspective of the cars coming towards you can be very deceptive because you can't work out which side they're going to go towards you. They always seem to come veer towards you. And you have to hold your nerve. Almost because you always think the car in front's going to hit you. Oh, it's frustrating and annoying. It's pretty horrible, isn't it? It's... Dear me. I mean, if you looked at a still of this, you'd think, oh, the car sprites are quite nice. Some of the roadside objects are quite nice. But just the physics of it are just terrible. Just why? In order to simulate the perspective, the cars end up almost veering towards you as you go to... What the... What happened there? Oh, cars just... It's Milk Race by Mastertronic all over again. Cars coming smashing into the back of you when you start from standing still. Oh, that's horrible. Just so. Dear me. And that would have happened again if I hadn't moved. Just rubbish. Oh dear, I forwarded it on. And now my car is glitching. Part of my car sprite is about 3 foot above the car. Oh no, it's gone back now. Small mercies. Everything about this is horrible. It's not the worst race I've played on the C64. But it doesn't work. It just does not work. They've tried to... It's visually better than many of the games we've reviewed, but it just does not work. You've got no warning the corners are coming towards you. The cars just veer towards you. And there's graphical glitches galore. Even the glitches on the road. Looks like there's stars on the road. Deary me. WEC Le Mans was a visually arresting experience in the arcade, from the look of the cabinet through to the graphics and the sound and just the general experience, and it's always going to be a hard ask to port that to the home versions. What Ocean have done, certainly on the Amstrad and Spectrum and MSX, is to make a fun, good quality racer. Yes, surpassed in later years, and certainly the irony of loading this in on a 464 Plus that already has burning rubber in the ROM of the machine wasn't lost on me. But still a decent racer. Perhaps on the Amstrad you're going to play burning rubber instead, but still a good racer. On the Spectrum, really fast and smooth, really like it. Yeah, it has those minor niggles, but it's just lovely, really. Just that impression of speed. I think it's probably even faster than Chase HQ was. It's so fast and smooth. And on the MSX, it's really nice to see an arcade racer that runs at a decent speed. Yeah, it's not as fast as the Spectrum version. It never could be because the Speccy display is so efficient in terms of the amount of memory it uses, and the MSX doesn't have those efficiencies. But even so, when we looked at games like Outrun and Continental Circus on the MSX, they ran at absolutely awful speed. And here we've got a racer on the MSX that runs at a decent speed, which is really good. The C64 version, I guess I was expecting it to be disappointing, and it didn't really let me down on that. Visually, if you looked at a still of it, you'd think it was fine. When you come to play it, the car skids all over the place. There's no warnings when you come up to the corners. The car always turns at the same speed no matter what speed it's travelling at. It glitches, there's sparkling on the road. It's just pretty awful, and yet it's still not as bad as other C64 racers that are around. Specky version, yeah, it's one you've got to certainly own in a Specky, and certainly for the MSX as well. On the Amstrad, if you've got a Plus, you've already got Burning Rubber, and that is effectively WEC Le Mans 2 by the same programmers.